How to know how many lives you have lived. 9 signs of reincarnation. The soul never thinks without a picture. Aristotle. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt like you've known them forever? Or picked up a new skill as if you'd mastered it long ago? These are more than coincidences. They could be echoes from a life you've lived before. In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we'll explore 9 powerful signs that may reveal how many lives your soul has experienced. But more importantly, this isn't just about curiosity. It's about using that knowledge to deepen your self-awareness and evolve in the present moment. As you watch, ask yourself, what memories might my soul be carrying? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's grow together on this sacred journey. 1. Intense and frequent déjà vu. Déjà vu is often misunderstood as nothing more than a mental hiccup, a momentary brain glitch. But for those on a spiritual path, its intensity suggests something far more profound. When these moments strike, when you feel like you've been in a place you've never visited, or lived a moment that technically hasn't happened, they can stir something deep within you. It's not just a flicker of recognition. It's a soul-level knowing. You don't just remember with your mind. You remember with your entire being. The sensation can feel like walking into a memory that isn't yours in this lifetime, yet feels unmistakably real. Your heart rate shifts, your breath pauses, and there's a subtle inner pull as if something ancient within you is waking up. These are not ordinary sensations. These are soul memories. You might be standing in a crowd and suddenly feel a wave of familiarity, not with the people, but with the feeling of being there, as if your soul has returned to a scene it once knew. Unlike dreams that fade or thoughts that pass, this kind of déjà vu often carries emotional weight. It can feel comforting or unsettling, beautiful or eerie. But what marks it most is its vividness. The stronger the emotion and detail you feel, the more likely you're tapping into a memory from a previous incarnation. And that's where the understanding of reincarnation becomes essential. These aren't accidents of the mind. They are evidence that your consciousness has lived beyond this single life, and that it is still connected to experiences far older than your current name or form. Some may experience this through people meeting someone for the first time, but instantly feeling like you've known them forever. There's no explanation for the comfort, the bond, the magnetism. Words aren't necessary because the energy speaks louder. It's not about love at first sight. It's about recognition at first soul glance. In other cases, it could be a language, a smell, or even a historical event that brings tears to your eyes, even if you've never read about it before. These unexplained emotional responses are not coincidences. They are remnants of past lives trying to break through the veil of forgetfulness. Reincarnation teaches us that time is not linear, and that the soul gathers wisdom and imprints across many lifetimes. So when déjà vu enters your awareness, it may be the soul's way of handing you a thread, one that connects you to the fabric of who you have always been. It's not fantasy, it's spiritual physics. Energy never dies. It only transforms. Your experiences are recorded in your soul's blueprint, and déjà vu is when one of those old blueprints temporarily overlays the present moment. If you listen closely, these flashes are not just strange moments to be dismissed. They are invitations, clues, reminders. In a world that tells you to define yourself by your current status, role, or achievements, déjà vu whispers something timeless. You are not just this body. You are not just this name. You have lived before, and your soul remembers. If you've ever felt a wave of intense déjà vu that tugs at your soul, not just your mind, you're not alone. Comment: I believe it's a soul memory if this resonates with you. Or, I think it's just the brain if you see it differently. Let's open the conversation. 2. Instant connections with people or places. Some connections defy logic. You meet someone for the very first time, and yet your heart skips the introductions it just knows. There's no awkwardness, no small talk, just a strange, sacred ease, as if your souls have been waiting to meet again. This kind of instant bond isn't about physical attraction or shared interests. It's something deeper, something older. These are soul reunions, echoes from another lifetime where your spirits already danced, fought, or loved. When you meet again in this life, time bends. The connection feels effortless and unexplainably powerful, like continuing a story that never really ended. This same phenomenon doesn't just happen with people, it happens with places too. You walk into a town, step onto a stone path, or sit beside a body of water, and a flood of peace washes over you. You feel strangely at home, like you've walked those streets or heard those winds before. That feeling isn't fantasy, it's your soul remembering. It's your energy recognizing a vibration it once merged with, long before this body, this name, or this lifetime. Elena, a 32-year-old woman from Chicago, had never been outside the United States. But when she visited an old temple in Kyoto, Japan, she was overwhelmed by emotion. She couldn't understand the language or history, but her body reacted and she cried without knowing why. That night, she dreamed in vivid detail of a life she never lived. Rituals, names, even grief. Her conscious mind didn't have the answers, but her soul did. These moments are not fiction. They are spiritual whispers of who we once were. You might find that, with certain people, you fall into rhythm, as if no time has passed. You speak the same thoughts. You sense each other's moods. You know what they'll say before they say it. These aren't coincidences. They are signs of shared timelines, past lives overlapping into the now. And when it happens, you don't need years to build trust. The safety, the depth that's already there, carved into your spiritual memory. Yet not all instant connections are pleasant. Some feel magnetic, but are full of conflict, confusion, or pain. These are soul contracts, relationships meant to resolve unfinished lessons from lifetimes before. You may be drawn to them, not because they are right, but because they are familiar. And that familiarity is meant to wake you up, challenge you, heal you, or free you. Your soul remembers more than your mind can comprehend. It recognizes energy. It knows the hands that once held it. It remembers the earth that once carried its weight. So when you feel something unexplainable, don't dismiss it. These are not random emotional spikes. They are spiritual signals, invitations to remember, to reconnect with the layers of yourself that transcend time. Everything you are drawn to in this life is a clue to the many paths you've walked before. Pay attention to what stirs your spirit. The people, the places, the feelings that pull you without reason, they are the footprints of your reincarnated journey, guiding you toward deeper truth, unfinished healing, and spiritual alignment. Have you ever felt instantly connected to someone or someplace? Comment below. My soul remembers if you've experienced these timeless reunions. 3. Natural wisdom or talents. Some children don't just play, they compose. Some don't just doodle, they create detailed portraits with no guidance. And some speak not like kids, but like philosophers trapped in tiny bodies. These abilities don't arise out of nowhere. They are not simply coincidences, nor are they always the result of exceptional parenting or early exposure. They are clues. Clues that the soul has walked this earth before. Clues that somewhere in the unseen fabric of time, your spirit once lived, learned, and mastered a craft, and now it's remembering. This phenomenon is often described as natural wisdom or innate talent, but in truth, it may be something much deeper, a memory echoing through lifetimes. When you find yourself unusually good at something you've never studied, it's worth asking, where did this come from? That ease, that fluency, that instinct, it might be the result of accumulated experience across many lives. Reincarnation doesn't always show itself in dramatic past life flashbacks. Sometimes it's far more subtle. It slips through in the way your hands move across piano keys like they've done it 1,000 times before, or the way you understand people without needing words. The soul, unlike the mind, doesn't forget. It stores impressions, lessons, gifts, even traumas. And sometimes, when the conditions are right, these soul memories surface as seemingly unexplainable abilities. That's why a young girl may feel instantly drawn to healing others, or a boy instinctively knows how to lead and protect. It's not about what they've learned here, but what they've carried over. Talent, in this case, becomes spiritual evidence, a quiet testimony of the journeys your soul has already taken. Even adults experience this. You meet a new skill, and yet it feels old. You start a craft and feel like you've returned home. That sense of, I've done this before, is not just a feeling, it may be real. Your soul, infinite in its nature, may be guiding you back to your purpose by revealing past life strengths in your present life. The universe does not waste experience. What you built, refined, and mastered in one life continues as spiritual residue in the next. To ignore these signs is to ignore the compass of your own evolution. When a gift flows through you effortlessly, it's often a reminder that your journey is bigger than one lifetime. You were not born empty. You were born ancient. And sometimes, your greatest wisdom isn't what you've learned, it's what you've remembered. Are you one of those souls born with ancient wisdom or talents beyond your years? If this resonates with you, comment below. I remember my gift to honor the wisdom your soul still carries. 4. Spontaneous memories or vivid dreams. Spontaneous memories or vivid dreams often arrive without warning, fleeting moments in sleep or deep stillness that feel more like remembering than imagining. You see yourself in a different body, in an unfamiliar place, living a life that isn't yours yet somehow. It feels deeply personal. These dreams aren't random mental projections. They carry emotional weight, rich textures, and the kind of clarity that normal dreams don't possess. Often, they unfold in places you've never physically visited, but you recognize every detail. You feel the weather, the texture of the walls, the emotional dynamics of people who don't exist in your current life. These are soul impressions, fragments of memory that transcend this incarnation. Sometimes these memories don't even wait for sleep. They emerge during waking hours through déjà vu or sudden emotional surges triggered by ordinary experiences. A scent, a sound, a place can ignite a memory you've never lived but feel deeply. Maybe you pass an old cathedral in a city you've never visited, and your eyes well up with emotion you can't explain. Or perhaps you feel an irrational fear of water fire, or heights, rooted in an event that never happened in this lifetime. These aren't coincidences. They are energetic residues from previous lives, proof that the soul carries memory, even when the mind does not. Many people experience recurring dreams involving specific locations or individuals they've never known in this lifetime. These dreams often come with a heavy emotional charge, longing, grief, deep connection, or even a sense of responsibility. You may find yourself dreaming repeatedly of fleeing danger, speaking in a foreign tongue, or finding sanctuary in ancient temples. Each dream becomes a thread in a larger tapestry your soul is weaving, gently revealing chapters of its long journey through time. Children are often the clearest conduits for these past life memories. Before the conditioning of logic and social norms sets in, they speak freely about other parents, distant lands, and events far beyond their current age or knowledge. Some may describe their death in a previous life with astonishing detail, or identify places and people they've never seen. These spontaneous recollections are the soul's raw voice, honest, unfiltered, and powerful. As we grow older, those memories are pushed beneath layers of rationality, but they don't disappear. They simply wait for the right moment to re-emerge. During spiritual awakening, the veil begins to thin. You start noticing connections between your dreams, emotional patterns, and the larger questions about your existence. Your vibration rises, and with it, your sensitivity to subtle energies. This is when spontaneous memories intensify, becoming invitations to explore your spirituality and reconnect with your true essence. The soul starts revealing its ancient wounds and victories, asking for integration, healing, and remembrance. These glimpses are not just personal. They are spiritual clues that you have lived before, loved before, and possibly left something unfinished that now calls for your attention. In the language of energy, nothing is ever lost. Everything is stored, waiting to be retrieved. The law of attraction plays a quiet but powerful role in this. As you evolve, you begin to attract exactly what you need to remember. These memories don't return randomly. They surface when you're spiritually ready. That's when manifestation becomes deeper than visualizing material things. It becomes a process of summoning your soul's truth. The dream isn't just a dream. It's a signal. It's your soul reminding you of what it still carries, what it still seeks, and what it has always known. If you've ever felt a dream or memory that seemed more real than this life, it may be your soul remembering. If you believe this message is meant for you, repeat after me. These memories are sacred. I receive them with trust, knowing they are guiding me. 5. Fears or phobias without cause. Unexplained fears, whether it's the terror of deep water, the panic on high places, or the dread of confined spaces, often go far beyond logic. These phobias can feel like irrational overreactions, especially when nothing in your present life explains them. But the truth is, some fears may be echoes of a trauma your soul has carried from another lifetime. While your conscious mind doesn't recall the experience, your body still remembers. The trembling hands, the racing heart, the overwhelming urge to escape it all points to a deeper memory that lives beneath the surface of awareness. Take the example of a woman who's never experienced a drowning incident, yet avoids lakes and pools with intense fear. Or the man who's never been trapped, yet panics in elevators or small rooms. These reactions don't stem from the present. They often reflect unresolved energies imprinted on the soul from the past. According to spiritual wisdom, your soul holds onto certain imprints from one life to the next, especially those involving sudden trauma, fear, or loss. And these imprints can manifest as instinctive, seemingly irrational fears that you just can't shake. Your body's reactions are not failures, they are signals. When your nervous system goes into overdrive without cause, it may be because your soul remembers a danger it once faced. These aren't just feelings to suppress or medicate away. They are messages deeply encoded into your energetic being, asking to be heard, honored, and healed. And through healing, these fears can become doorways to deeper self-knowledge and soul integration. Many people who explore past life regression discover startling connections between their present phobias and their previous lifetimes. A fear of heights might trace back to a fall in a previous incarnation. A fear of being buried alive might be linked to a lifetime that ended in war or disaster. Even modern therapy is beginning to acknowledge the powerful effect of subconscious memory, and spiritual healing expands this awareness into the timeless journey of the soul. These fears are not random, nor are they punishments. They are invitations. They invite you to explore your past, not with fear, but with curiosity. To see your phobias not as obstacles, but as remnants of a story that's still unfolding. You're not broken. You're remembering. You're reconnecting with pieces of yourself long hidden beneath the veil of time. By working through these deep emotional imprints, through practices like meditation, conscious breathing, journaling, or energy work, you begin to reclaim lost parts of your power. You don't have to know exactly what happened in the past to release it. What matters is your willingness to feel, to listen, and to shift the energy that still lingers. Every unexplained fear is a trail of breadcrumbs leading you home, not to your house or your name, but to your soul. And with each layer you peel back, you're reminded that your life is not the first page in your story. It's just the latest chapter. If you've ever felt a fear that makes no logical sense, you're not alone, and your soul might remember what your mind has forgotten. If this message resonates with you, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your experience in the comments below. Let's heal and release it together. 6. Fascination with specific cultures or time periods. There are moments in life when you stumble upon a piece of history, a photograph, a melody, or even a scent, and suddenly you're overcome with a strange emotion that has no explanation. It's not just curiosity. It's as if something ancient within you has been awakened. You may find yourself inexplicably drawn to a specific culture or time period, as if it's a part of your story, even though you've never lived it in this life. This deep emotional attachment to an era, be it ancient Egypt, the Victorian age, or tribal Africa, feels almost sacred. It touches something so real and familiar inside you that logic falls short. That resonance isn't accidental. It's the echo of memory, one that doesn't belong to your body, but to your soul. Many people experience this recognition without understanding it. It might be sparked by watching a documentary, walking through an old temple, or hearing a traditional instrument you've never heard before. Suddenly, you're moved to tears. Something within you knows the sound, the place, the story. This is what we call soul recognition, a gentle but undeniable reminder that you may have lived during those times. Your emotional reaction is not imagined, it's remembered. Science may not yet have language for it, but many spiritual paths understand that your consciousness is layered. While your current identity may be limited to this lifetime, your soul carries impressions from previous incarnations. These impressions can surface as irrational longings, unexplained preferences, or powerful emotional responses. They rise like whispers from another time, guiding you back to who you've always been beneath the surface of your present self. The deeper truth is that your soul doesn't forget. Even if your mind has no recollection, your energetic field holds everything your loves, your losses, your roles, your rituals. That's why people sometimes discover they have a deep passion for ancient scripts, foreign languages, or specific symbols without ever studying them. There's a familiarity there that defies logic. It's not learning, it's remembering. You weren't imagining it when you felt chills walking into that ancient cathedral. You weren't overreacting when your heart broke while reading a tragedy from a distant empire. And you certainly weren't fantasizing when you knew the layout of a historical city you'd never visited. The soul speaks in emotion, in symbols, in subtle awakenings that can't be dismissed by reason alone. This connection to past cultures can also carry a sense of mission. It's as if your soul has returned to continue something that was unfinished. That's why some people feel a calling to preserve certain traditions, fight for forgotten truths, or honor the wisdom of ancient civilizations. They're not just students of history, they're participants in it. So when you feel that pull toward a time, a place, a people, don't ignore it. It may very well be your soul leading you to the fragments of your truth scattered across lifetimes. And through that recognition, you may find pieces of your purpose in this one. If you've ever felt drawn to a place or time you've never lived in, your soul may be remembering. If you believe and are ready to receive it, repeat after me. This connection is not random, my soul remembers. I trust the journey unfolding for me. 7. Feeling like an old soul. You always felt different, not in a way that made you feel superior, but in a way that made you feel ancient, as though you carried stories in your bones, echoes in your heart, and a kind of wisdom in your silence. While others around you chased the next trend, laughed over trivial things, or stayed consumed by surface-level drama, you watched. Not because you were cold, but because you simply didn't resonate with the noise. From a young age, you preferred solitude over popularity, reflection over distraction, and meaning over entertainment. You were not detached, you were deep. And that depth is not always born in this lifetime. Old souls don't just grow wise, they return wise. If you've always gravitated toward introspection, craved deep conversations that feel like soul excavations, and found comfort in the unseen and the unspoken, it's likely your soul remembers. You may have sat quietly in the company of many, feeling as if no one could quite see the real you, the version of you that transcends age, time, and identity. That's not alienation. That's reincarnation's whisper. It's your soul nudging you gently, reminding you that you've lived before, that your knowing wasn't taught, but remembered. This longing for meaning often shows up in your spiritual curiosity, not just as interest, but as recognition. When you hear truths about energy, consciousness, the law of attraction, or manifestation, you don't just believe, you resonate. These aren't ideas you're trying to accept. They're truths you feel like you already knew. Your soul isn't learning, it's waking up. You may find yourself drawn to the mysteries of life, why we're here, how energy shapes reality, or what exists beyond death. That pull isn't random. It's a result of lifetimes spent exploring, seeking, and evolving. You've likely felt older than your peers in more ways than one emotionally, spiritually, and even intellectually. While others sought applause, you sought alignment. While others performed for approval, you pursued a purpose. Your detachment from shallow conversations doesn't come from arrogance, but from the soul's exhaustion with repetition. You've lived through it all before the drama, the noise, the illusion. Now, you crave truth. And yet, in your depth, you've also known loneliness, because not everyone can walk with you into the places you're willing to go. Not everyone is ready to remember what your soul already knows. You've had to sit with silence and let it speak, let it teach. But even in isolation, you've always known. Your difference was never a curse. It was a sign, a spiritual signature, proof of many lives, many lessons, and many returns. To feel like an old soul is not a phase or personality trait. It's a spiritual inheritance, a sign that you've walked through lifetimes gathering wisdom, that you've been here before, and that you came back with a mission. The world may not always understand you, but deep inside, you know exactly who you are. And that knowing that unshakable truth is the loudest echo of your soul's eternal journey. If you've ever felt like an old soul navigating a world that doesn't quite match your depth, let us know you're still with us and comment, "I feel the wisdom within," below. Your words help us connect more deeply with souls like yours. 8. Recurring life patterns or lessons. Some emotional patterns feel strangely familiar, like déjà vu for the soul. You may find yourself falling into the same relationship dynamics over and over again, trusting too soon, getting hurt, being abandoned, or sacrificing your own needs to please others. At first, it might seem like coincidence or poor judgment, but when the pattern repeats across years, different people, and even different environments, it's not random. It's reincarnation at work. These aren't just emotional habits. They're soul lessons your spirit has yet to master. They come back not to punish you, but to be healed. Until they are faced, integrated, and resolved, they will return again and again through new faces, new places, and new circumstances. Spiritual wisdom teaches that the soul is a traveler through time, carrying emotional imprints and karmic memories across lifetimes. So when you're stuck in cycles of abandonment, betrayal, self-doubt, or rejection, these aren't just wounds from this lifetime. They may be echoes of unhealed traumas from lifetimes before where you weren't able to speak up, fight back, or walk away. Now, your soul is asking, will you finally learn what you were once too afraid to confront? Will you love yourself enough this time to choose differently? Take, for example, someone who constantly ends up in situations where they're undervalued at work, in friendships, in love. No matter how much effort they give, they feel unseen. This may not just be bad luck. It could be a recurring soul lesson to stop seeking external validation and remember their divine worth. The lesson is never about changing the world outside you. It's about evolving the world within you. And when you shift internally, the external reality must follow. The universe is patient. It doesn't rush your awakening. If you don't learn the lesson in this life, it will be lovingly reintroduced in the next. That's the grace of reincarnation. But the moment you recognize the pattern, truly recognize it, it begins to lose power over you. That's when you start writing a new story, not from fear or habit, but from consciousness and choice. As Carl Jung said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. What you call misfortune may actually be divine repetition, an invitation to evolve. You're not being tested, you're being taught. And every time the lesson returns, it carries the same message. You are ready now. Choose differently. Respond with awareness. Heal the wound at its root. These repeating emotional loops are sacred. They are not obstacles, they are assignments. And when you pass them, you don't just liberate yourself. You free your bloodline, your future lifetimes, and the collective energy field of those around you. You become a living testimony that healing is real, reincarnation is active, and spiritual wisdom is the path home. To affirm your commitment to breaking old cycles and embracing true growth, declare your intention. Comment below, I choose to learn and heal, to honor your soul's journey and encourage others to face their patterns with awareness and strength. 9. A deep inner search for meaning. There's a kind of emptiness that success can't fill, a restless stirring inside you. Even when everything in your life looks complete. You may have the job, the relationship, the stability, yet something deeper keeps tugging at your spirit. It's not dissatisfaction with life, it's a hunger for meaning. That quiet longing for something greater is one of the most profound signs your soul has walked this earth before. You're not just living this life you're remembering. This inner yearning doesn't disappear, no matter how many goals you achieve or boxes you check. It follows you into quiet moments, whispers through sleepless nights, and reveals itself when you're surrounded by people, but still feel alone. You've probably tried to silence it by staying busy, by chasing the next achievement, but it always returns this subtle ache for something more timeless, more sacred. And that's because your soul has known deeper realms. It's carrying the echoes of lifetimes spent seeking, evolving, learning. You might have found yourself drawn to questions that others find too heavy or too strange. What's the purpose of suffering? Why do I feel things so deeply? Why do I feel older than my age? That isn't coincidence. It's spiritual memory trying to rise through your conscious mind. It's your soul nudging you toward your origin. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." That awakening begins with this hunger. It often leads you towards spiritual paths that seem unusual to others. Meditation, energy work, past life regression, or simply spending long hours in silence contemplating the meaning of it all. You might have tried to explain it before, but found words too limiting. That's because what you're experiencing goes beyond language. It's a remembering. A remembering of who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. You're not just exploring spirituality, you're decoding your soul's blueprint from lifetimes ago. Even in childhood, this longing may have shown up. Maybe you looked at the stars and felt homesick for a place you couldn't name. Maybe you asked questions no one else around you could answer. Maybe you felt different, not better, just older, more tired, more sensitive, more aware. That sensitivity was not weakness. It was wisdom accumulated through many cycles of existence. And now, as you mature, the call grows louder, not for more things, but for more truth. This hunger eventually shifts your focus. The need to impress, to chase trends, to belong in places that drain you, it all begins to dissolve. You start letting go of superficial noise and gravitating toward peace, toward books that stir your soul, people who speak with depth, and environments that feel like sacred space. Your energy becomes more discerning, not out of judgment, but out of instinct. You're returning to yourself. What drives this longing is not confusion, it's clarity. It's your soul remembering what truly matters. You've lived before, and you came back, not to repeat, but to realign. The restlessness you feel is not a flaw, it's an invitation. Your soul is not lost, it's awakening. Remember, the journey of the soul is vast, mysterious, and often far older than we can imagine. The signs of reincarnation aren't just mystical ideas, they're spiritual breadcrumbs leading you back to your eternal truth. So if any of these 9 signs resonated with you, trust that your soul has walked many paths before this one, and each life has brought you closer to who you are meant to become. If you found value in today's message, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who's spiritually curious, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so you never miss a chance to dive deeper into the wisdom of the soul. Your awakening is only just beginning. They're stealing your life force. This is how to protect your energy. Energy flows where attention goes. This timeless truth reminds us that every day we're either nourishing our spirit or unknowingly draining it. In a world full of distractions, emotional vampires, and psychological manipulation, it's easy to give away our most precious resource, our life force, without even realizing it. That's why, in today's video on Spiritual Wisdom, we dive deep into how to protect your energy, drawing from the profound insights of Carl Jung. What subtle forces are stealing your vitality? And more importantly, how can you reclaim your power? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below. I protect my energy daily. Let's start this journey of conscious living together. 1. True power lies in silence and withdrawal. Power doesn't come from chasing, reacting, or over-explaining. It comes from restraint, knowing when to be silent, when to pull back, and when to stop giving your energy away to those who have come to expect it without gratitude. The most commanding presence in any room is often the one that speaks the least, not because they lack something to say, but because their silence says everything. When you withdraw your energy with intention, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, people feel it. They may not understand it at first, but they feel the absence, and that absence begins to speak louder than your presence ever did. This is the kind of spiritual wisdom many never learn, that your life force is not infinite, and every unnecessary reaction, every forced explanation, drains it drop by drop. When you always show up, always reply, always fix, people start assuming your energy is free. They stop valuing your presence because it's always available. But when you step back, not with anger, but with grace, you interrupt the pattern. You let the silence do the teaching. You show others that your attention is earned, not assumed. And in doing so, you begin to restore the sacredness of your own spirit. Strategic silence is not a form of manipulation. It's an act of self-respect. You're not ignoring anyone. You're honoring yourself. You're recognizing when conversations drain more than they heal, when presence becomes a performance, when connection becomes currency. You're refusing to participate in dynamics that leave you depleted and unseen. And in this refusal, you reclaim your power. Pulling back your energy doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've started caring about yourself just as much. The balance shifts the moment you choose peace over proving. It shifts when you no longer offer explanations to those committed to misunderstanding you. And when you stop overgiving, The ones who truly value your light will step forward not because you demanded it, but because your absence called them to awareness. You teach people how to treat you by the energy you allow and the boundaries you enforce. If they can't feel your silence, they never heard your words. And if your withdrawal offends them more than your exhaustion ever did, that tells you everything. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's sacred. Your aura is not a public utility. It is a sanctuary. And only those who enter with reverence should be allowed to stay. Letting go of the need to respond to everything gives you space to breathe, to heal, and to remember who you are. In that space, your true essence emerges unshaken, unbothered, and deeply grounded in truth. This is where your real power begins. In silence, in the distance, in the unapologetic decision to choose yourself. Have you ever experienced the power of silence and pulling back your energy? If so, share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear how it shifted your relationships or inner peace. If not, comment, "I will reclaim my power," to begin this quiet yet profound journey within. 2. Constant availability destroys self-respect. When you're always available, something sacred begins to dissolve your self-respect. The more accessible you are, the more people unconsciously begin to expect your presence, not appreciate it. Your kindness turns into convenience. Your generosity becomes an invisible habit. They no longer feel grateful for your time. They assume it's theirs by default. And in that quiet erosion, your worth starts to dim. Not because it disappears, but because you're giving it away in fragments every time you say yes, when your soul whispers no. You may believe that always saying yes makes you compassionate or loving. But when that yes is rooted in fear, guilt, or the need to be accepted, it becomes a form of spiritual self-abandonment. This is not a real connection. It's performance. It's erasing your truth for the comfort of others. Saying yes when you mean no is not kindness. It's self-betrayal. It's how you lose your voice, your energy, your presence, and eventually, your identity. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But if your energy is constantly being scattered into other people's needs, demands, and dramas, how can you hear your own truth? How can you honor your inner path when your life is lived in reaction to everyone else's urgency? Constant availability creates spiritual noise. It silences your intuition. It floods your nervous system with other people's chaos while starving your own soul of peace. Spiritual awakening begins the moment you realize your presence is sacred, not public property. Your life force is not a buffet for others to consume. You are not here to constantly prove your worth through sacrifice. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's a divine act of remembrance, of reclaiming your right to exist in fullness without apology. The most powerful people don't chase, don't explain, and don't overextend. They honor the rhythm of their own being. They speak through presence, not performance. When you stop being so accessible, the dynamics shift. People who took you for granted begin to notice your absence. Those who relied on your constant support begin to reflect on their own imbalance. But most importantly, you begin to return to yourself, to your breath, your stillness, your truth. You start living aligned, not drained, rooted, not rushed, free, not fragmented. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom. Not just knowing when to say yes, but having the courage to say no. Not just giving love, but embodying it for yourself. Not just showing up for the world, but remembering you belong to yourself first. And in that sacred remembering, your soul finally breathes. If this message speaks to your soul, consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell. Your journey towards self-respect and energetic alignment deepens with every step you take. 3. You become the role others want, not your true self. Most people aren't loved for who they truly are. They're loved for the role they play in other people's lives. Over time, others don't connect with your soul, but with your emotional patterns. The comforting smile you offer, even when you're tired. The silence you keep to avoid conflict. The way you overextend yourself just to stay needed. Carl Jung called this the persona, a mask you wear to be accepted, to feel useful, to belong. But the longer you wear it, the more your true self is buried beneath it. And one day, without even realizing it, you forget who you are beneath all the roles. You become the caretaker, the pleaser, the achiever. You say yes to things your heart silently resists. You dim your light in rooms that never celebrated your fire. You show up not as yourself, but as a filtered version, carefully shaped to be digestible to others. And in that quiet, subtle sacrifice, you trade authenticity for approval. Slowly, your life becomes a performance, not a truth. The more you conform to the expectations of others, the more your energy is drained. You give away your life force just to be perceived as lovable. It's not your fault. The world teaches us to be useful, not to be real. From childhood, you're conditioned to gain approval by adjusting your behavior. You're rewarded for being obedient, not honest. Praised for being helpful, not authentic. And so, you adapt. You survive, but you don't thrive. Your spirit begins to whisper that something's missing, but the noise of your persona is too loud to hear it. Sarah was one of those people. She had the career, the family, the friendships. Yet every night, she felt hollow. She realized that every version of herself had been molded by what others needed, never by what she truly wanted. With time and inner work, she confronted the truth. She had abandoned herself in exchange for being liked. That moment was her awakening. She stopped asking, "What do they expect from me?" and started asking, "What do I expect from myself?" She began reclaiming her energy not by fighting others, but by finally choosing herself. When you over-identify with the persona, you unconsciously teach others to love your mask instead of your soul. This is why so many relationships feel unfulfilling. You're not being seen, only performed. And until you break free, your energy will always be on loan to people who never truly valued the real you. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That means learning to exist without needing to be needed. It means pulling back your energy from roles that no longer fit. It means risking disapproval to protect your truth. Because nothing drains your life force more than performing someone else's idea of who you should be. Protecting your energy is not just about avoiding toxic people. It's about unmasking yourself. It's about daring to be disliked if it means finally being real. It's about returning home to your own essence after years of exile. And when you do, you'll notice something extraordinary. The people who are only attached to your performance will fade, but those who see and honor your soul will rise. Are you ready to stop performing and start being your true self? If so, comment below. I choose authenticity to affirm your commitment. Let this be the first step back to you. 4. Reactivity is a leak in your power. Every time you overreact emotionally, a part of your power escapes you. It doesn't seem like much at first, a defensive comment here, a need to explain yourself there. But slowly, piece by piece, you're leaking energy. Not just physical energy, but something deeper, your spiritual life force. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." This insight reminds us that triggers are not enemies, they are teachers. Yet most people don't pause to learn. They collapse into the trigger, reacting from old wounds instead of observing with awareness. And that's where true power is lost. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that your energy is your responsibility. When you allow someone's words to control your mood, or when you feel the urge to justify your value to someone who has no intention of seeing it, you give away more than just time. You surrender sovereignty. The more you explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, the more you betray your own inner knowing. You don't need to narrate your worth to someone whose ears are closed. You don't need to argue your vision with those who lack the eyes to see it. Being reactive is like handing someone else the remote to your nervous system. You think you're defending yourself, but you're actually surrendering control. You're saying, "Here, take my calm, take my focus, take my strength." And when this becomes a habit, you start to feel anxious, depleted, and disoriented, not because something is wrong with you, but because you've spent your energy in all the wrong places. People often confuse silence with weakness, but in truth, silence can be the most powerful response. The ones who master energy don't need to shout. Their presence speaks for them. They walk into a room and shift it, not because they try to dominate, but because they've stopped leaking. They've stopped reacting. They've learned how to hold their power instead of throwing it away in moments of emotional chaos. When you embody spiritual wisdom, you become unshakable not by resisting the world, but by no longer letting it decide who you are. You begin to choose your battles. You no longer show up to every argument you're invited to. You no longer defend yourself to people who are looking for conflict, not understanding. You become intentional, and that intention becomes your shield. The energy you once scattered now returns to you. It nourishes your purpose, sharpens your clarity, and deepens your peace. Triggers no longer rule you, they guide you. Reactions no longer define you. Responses born from presence and awareness become your signature. Protecting your energy is not a selfish act, it's a sacred one. It is the act of remembering that your light was never meant to be dimmed by noise, provocation, or misunderstanding. It was meant to lead. And leaders don't waste their power on chaos. They rise above it, quietly, gracefully, completely. Do you feel your energy returning as you stop reacting? If this message resonates, comment below. I choose power over reaction. Let it be your bold affirmation and your turning point. 5. Projection is not love. It's control. Many people don't love you. They love the version of you that makes them feel safe, admired, or in control. The moment you stop smiling on cue, saying yes when your spirit says no, or being smaller to fit into their comfort, you start to see the truth. Their affection wasn't rooted in love. It was a projection. They didn't love you. They loved the idea of you. And when that idea is threatened, they react. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've broken the script they wrote without your consent. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Projection is one of the most unconscious forms of control. When someone projects, they're not seeing you as you are. They're seeing you through the lens of their wounds, needs, and expectations. You become their mirror, not their companion. And as long as you reflect what they want to see, things feel harmonious. But step out of that reflection. Express your boundaries, your needs, your truths, and you'll see how quickly the illusion shatters. This happens all the time in daily life. A woman known for her gentleness finally asserts herself in a relationship and is instantly labeled too emotional or difficult. A son who's always lived up to his family's expectations decides to follow his own path and suddenly becomes the ungrateful one. A friend who always listens but rarely shares their own pain finally opens up and is met with discomfort, avoidance, or silence. These are not signs that you're broken. They are signs that you've stepped out of someone's fantasy and they're struggling to cope with reality. But here's the deeper truth. Your authenticity will always cost you fake connections. It will agitate those who only knew how to relate to a version of you that served their ego. And that is okay, because what you lose in approval, you gain in freedom. Your spiritual wisdom deepens every time you choose presence over performance, truth over role-playing, and connection over control. Carl Jung believed that true wholeness comes from integrating the shadow, the unseen, misunderstood, and rejected parts of ourselves. When you honor your full self, you break free from being a character in someone else's narrative. You stop being easy to manage and start being deeply real. And yes, that will unsettle some people. But it will also attract those who are capable of genuine love, that sees you, evolves with you, and doesn't disappear the moment you step out of line. The more self-aware you become, the more you'll recognize projection for what it is, a quiet thief of your life force. It doesn't scream, it doesn't rage, it whispers, "Don't change. Stay who I need you to be." And in that whisper lies the slow erosion of your power. But the moment you choose to listen to your soul instead of their script, you begin the sacred act of reclaiming your energy, not through anger, but through alignment. If this message resonates with you, leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. You deserve real love, not control. Type in the comments, "I deserve to be loved for who I truly am." 6. Sacred isolation reveals your authentic self. When the world constantly demands your attention, it's easy to forget the sound of your own voice. In a society that rewards constant connection and performance, you slowly begin to drift from your core. Sacred isolation becomes not an escape, but a return to the self that existed before the masks, before the expectations, before the noise. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole by uniting all parts of yourself, even the ones you've hidden or forgotten. And that journey cannot begin in chaos. It begins in silence. Solitude is not rejection. It's not abandonment. It is a sacred space where the soul repairs what the world has damaged. When you allow yourself to step back from roles, labels, and the need to be understood, you begin to see who you really are without the filters. You realize how much of your identity was shaped by the gaze of others. And only when that gaze fades do you get the chance to meet yourself again, not as a brand, not as someone's partner, not as a title, but as a living, breathing soul with depth, desire, and divinity. In modern life, most people are addicted to distraction. They scroll through highlights, respond out of habit, speak without listening, and live without reflecting. They confuse activity with purpose, but being constantly available to everyone else leaves you unavailable to yourself. The more you give your time, energy, and presence away without replenishment, the more disconnected you become from your own spirit. Sacred isolation interrupts this cycle. It pauses the performance. It tells you, come home. There was once a man who worked in finance. Every day was packed calls, meetings, deadlines, dinner obligations. He was admired, respected, envied. But inside, he felt hollow. After a health scare, he took a short retreat. No phones, no schedule, just stillness. The first days were filled with anxiety and phantom buzzes from a phone that wasn't even there. But gradually, his mind softened. He started journaling. He remembered the dreams he once had, but buried under obligations. He cried for the first time in years, not because he was broken, but because he was finally real. Carl Jung said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." In sacred solitude, you don't lose connection. You discover true connection, not the one based on texts, likes, or surface-level talks, but the connection with your inner truth. It teaches you to stop begging for clarity from outside sources and start trusting the whispers within. And in that trust, you begin to embody your own energy again. The life force that was being drained by constant external demands slowly returns. Your boundaries become clearer. Your vision is sharper. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer explain, you exist. Sacred isolation reveals the most profound spiritual wisdom, that you are already complete within yourself. The noise outside is just that noise. It's in the stillness that the soul speaks. And when it does, you remember that the most powerful version of you was never the one that tried to please the world. It was the one who dared to face the silence and found peace in it. If this message speaks to your soul, comment below. I am ready to meet my true self. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual wisdom on your path to wholeness. 7. Reclaiming your energy is the beginning of real freedom. When you stop settling for less than you deserve, a quiet revolution begins inside you. No more forcing smiles. No more tolerating half-hearted conversations or staying in rooms that stifle your spirit. You begin to see how much of your energy was being siphoned away by situations and people that were never aligned with your truth. The moment you say, enough, you don't just reclaim time, you reclaim clarity, direction, and your sacred power. Settling is not peaceful. It is a slow leak of your life force disguised as compromise. You also stop over-explaining. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You realize that true respect doesn't demand justification. When you stop explaining, you step into a quiet authority. You no longer shapeshift to fit someone's comfort zone. You walk away without giving a speech. You choose silence over performing. And in that silence, your energy recalibrates. You're no longer trying to prove you're enough. You simply are. And then you withdraw your energy from what drains you. This is deeper than distancing from toxic people. It's about becoming conscious of what you consume, what you scroll through, what conversations you engage in, and even the thoughts you entertain. Attention is power, and wherever it goes, your energy flows. When you stop giving your light to chaos, it starts to burn brighter for your own growth. Your soul feels the difference when you shift from reaction to intention. Boundaries become sacred in this process. They're no longer something you explain or defend. They are declarations of self-respect. You begin saying no without a paragraph of apology, and yes without fear of judgment. Your boundaries are not punishments. They are protection. They don't isolate you. They liberate you. They carve out space for your peace, your healing, your realignment. And with every boundary upheld, you teach the world how to treat your energy. Silence transforms into your sharpest filter. You start to feel who truly values your presence when your words are no longer offered on demand. Those who relied on your noise to control the dynamic now confront the power of your absence. Silence no longer feels like void. It feels like sovereignty. You're not punishing anyone. You're prioritizing yourself. Carl Jung once said that what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. By choosing silence, you stop resisting who you are and start letting it unfold naturally. You stop performing, stop proving, stop bending. You stop being available to everyone but yourself. And instead, you start showing up real, raw, whole. Living from your truth doesn't mean you'll be loved by all, but it means you'll be free. You're no longer decorating cages with borrowed identities. You're stepping out, not because you're angry, but because your soul finally said, "This is not where I thrive." This is the true path of spiritual wisdom, not floating above life's chaos, but moving through it with fierce presence. Reclaiming your energy is not a mood. It's a lifestyle, a commitment, a sacred return to self. If this message resonates with your soul, type in the comments, "I reclaim my energy and live in my truth." Thank you for joining us today on Spiritual Wisdom. Remember, your energy is your most sacred currency. Don't let the world spend it for you. Protect it, guard it, reclaim it. Because when you stand in your power, the world begins to shift around you. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel. And be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming insights on energy, healing, and transformation. Until next time, honor your energy and walk in your truth.